celebrity numerologist and best-selling author, Michelle Herbeau. Today we're going to look at branding, and this webinar is actually called Brand Power because I have really learned so much over the years in terms of building my own brand and my own platform through trial and error, of course, but also through something I like to call word power, because it's something that people don't really recognize when they think about branding. They don't necessarily think that the energy or the power behind the words is actually the key to the branding success. So the first part is, we have a two-part webinar. So the first segment is actually going to be focused more on my background as to how I came to be able to work with this branding aspect through numbers and numerology, but also through the scientific aspects, which to me is very important. I'm a very practical person. I like a lot of fact with my faith, of course, and I think it really resonates with the members as well in Jinn and you know, the whole philosophy behind the Jinn outlook. So I definitely think that looking at the words and the power that are behind the words through numerology and math really brings such science and such fact behind that theory. So first of all, I want to say, if you look around and you look at different brands and you think, okay, why are they so successful? What makes them superstars? What makes them be able to have enduring success, lasting success for so long? For example, Starbucks, Nike, all of those companies that seem to just continually enjoy stable, long-term success. What is their secret? And it may be that they have a strong footing in the marketplace just by luck or synchronicity, or is there something more? Is there something deeper to that? And yes, there is. To me, and to what I've discovered, it is in the power of their name. So before we get into all of that, I just wanted to pique your interest a bit, but I do want to tell you a little bit about my own backstory and how I was introduced to the world of numbers, the world of science and math and quantum physics. And for me, numerology, as a numerologist, I really don't look at numbers as being a metaphysical art. I look at it more in terms of science and mathematics and quantum physics. And numbers are really the language of the universe to me. And they have a lot of information, a lot of coding, a lot of things, messages that we can really harness and integrate into our lives. So let's I guess, rewind my backstory a little bit. I came from a corporate background, working in HR at a major bank, of course, numbers, but it wasn't something I thoroughly enjoyed. It was something I was good at. Of course, the numbers were always a factor in my life, and I can remember from an early age having a photographic memory for numbers, and just numbers, not names, nothing else, just numbers. And it wasn't actually until my mid-20s, right around 24, 25, that I started to have this incredible phenomenon happen to me. I started to dream in numbers every night. And it happened for about 3 months in a row. Couldn't figure out for the life of me what was going on or why this was happening to me. And being in a corporate environment and also coming from a background with no religious upbringing whatsoever, no spiritual introduction of any kind, whether it be traditional religion or metaphysics. I had no clue what spirituality was. I was strictly corporate business. And this was really disturbing to me at first. I couldn't figure out why I was dreaming in numbers. So after the 3 months, I started to do a little digging. I started to do a little research, and I stumbled upon numerology. I found it on the internet. I dove into it and realized that the answers to the challenges that I was facing at the time were being shown to me through these number messages. So if you can imagine someone who's coming from a non-religious corporate background, this was something that was quite profound to me and quite pivotal in the sense that it really threw me for a loop in terms of my career focus, my passion, my direction in life. And so really, I didn't look back after that. I really fell in love with the science of numbers and realized that it was so incredibly accurate because mathematics is accurate. There's no room for error when you talk about math. It's either right or it's wrong. And I can't tell you how many people come to me and say, how are you so accurate? Each time I give a reading, each time I do a talk, they're usually blown away by the accuracy. And I always tell them, I wish I could take credit. I wish I could say I'm, always accurate, I'm perfect, I'm amazing, this and that, but it's really not me. It's the science of numbers and the incredible mathematical accuracy that it brings. And if you look at the world, for example, it's all about cycles, patterns, the seasons, the moon cycles, our body is all a mathematical work of art. So it can boil down to math. And so that's why I love the fact that the science of numbers is really related to quantum physics, because the latest theory in quantum physics is that the string theory, which is all about saying that at one point we thought everything was matter, everything was solid, and now string theory is bringing about the notion that it's not matter as we once thought, it's actually slowed down or frozen light particles, which is energy. So if you think about that for a minute, if you think about the fact that now instead of looking at, let's say, this desk or this computer or anything that you have in front of you right now, instead of saying, well, this is solid matter because it's physical, it's tangible, but instead of thinking in that term or in that light, think about it as being slowed down energetic particles. And that really turns everything on a dime, because now we're looking at a world that has this unseen factor of energy floating around and slowed down energy. And when we talk about energy from a scientific perspective, energy is malleable. You can't destroy energy, but you can change energy. And so when you think about these little atoms that are bouncing around in the table or us or anything that makes up an object that we think is matter, they're actually little ping pong balls of energy. And so what happens when these little ping pong balls hit each other? They can either change each other's trajectory, they can change each other's makeup, they can, there's infinite ways that they can shape each other and change each other. And that's exactly what happens when we're talking about the power of words and branding. Because when we speak a word, when we say, even think a word, we're putting these little ping pong balls into action through the words that we're choosing to speak. And so the power behind these words is phenomenal to be able to create. And I want to talk a little bit about language in particular before we get into the words and the branding, because language is something that is unique to humans. Only humans really can speak consciously and use language as a conscious creative tool. We have maybe monkeys or parrots that can mimic a language, but do they really consciously understand what they're saying? Not necessarily. So we as humans have this beautiful tool to be able to consciously create through our thoughts and the words that we choose to use on a daily basis. And think about the people you interact with every day, what you say to them. You're changing their lives and you're changing your life. You're changing so many things by just putting that little ping pong ball out there to touch someone else's little ping pong ball, and it's all this little kaleidoscope of ping pong balls that are reshaping and shaping our destiny as we're in that moment. So it's a beautiful thing. And, this is something for me that was such an aha moment when I stumbled upon the power of words and the energy behind those words, because I was doing research for a book of mine, and I started to realize as I was breaking down these words, you can actually convert letters to numbers. And I was doing this and I realized that every single word that I was converting was not only matching the dictionary definition, it was actually matching more in depth in terms of what we see or what we feel when we speak that word. So it's not just giving us the generic definition, it's saying this is what you're truly creating when you say this word to someone or when you use this word. So if you have someone, let's say, I had a client once who used to say, but the problem is, after every other sentence. And of course, this guy had a lot of problems, needless to say. So definitely the words we use on a daily basis is definitely something that's going to affect your world immediately, and also long-term in all ways, because you're moving energy, you're shifting energy, you're changing it, you're changing its course. So in terms of numerology, and this is how the two weave together. So when we're talking about energy and quantum physics and the fact that we actually are dealing with frozen light particles rather than matter, we look at numbers as a way to see that unseen energy. So we can't actually see an atom. We can't actually see that frozen light particle that is slowed down. We can in the sense that we can see matter, but what about when we're saying a word? It also has a frequency, but it's something we can't see. But how do we actually tap into that to know what we're creating? And that's through numbers. And I want to show you from a scientific perspective, because numerology is something that is a little bit more taboo for a lot of people. And I've really brought a lot of scientific backing. At least I like to think that I have, and really got into the mainstream media that way by really bringing the practical element, because it is science. The bottom line is it's more metaphysics, or it's less metaphysics, sorry, more quantum physics than metaphysics. So if we look at these numbers, the numbers 1 to 9, every number in existence is created with the numbers 1 to 9. Any number you could think of. Think of a number that might be, I don't know, 100 million and something. That number, or the number 2, you know, that you could go very basic or very high in your number scheme. It doesn't matter what number you're creating, it's created with these base numbers. Also 0, which is more of a symbol than a number. So it's definitely, in terms of numerology, based around these main number codes. Everything can be reduced down to the numbers 1 to 9. And that includes the words we speak, that includes our essence. Like I say, this desk, the computer, our car, whatever you're looking at has a base value or a base frequency, energetic frequency that vibrates to one of these numbers, or that can be seen through one of these number frequencies. So this is really like a window into the world of energy and the law of attraction. So, and I want to touch a little bit on that as well, because this is the basis of what I do with the work with numbers and branding, is that it's based around, number one, numerology and numbers as a means to see the unseen, that energetic world of slowed down light particles and the atoms that we were talking about. So that's the first part. The second part is the law of attraction. And the law of attraction says that what we think about, we bring about. And it's very true, because everything is energy. So when we have a thought, when we have something that we say, and we're thinking it, we're feeling it, and we're doing it, it is manifesting because we're shape-shifting energy. We're putting those little ping pong balls out there. They're interacting with each other through the energy we're sending out, through the thoughts, through the speech, through the written word. Anything that we're doing with words, we're sending this energy out and creating through the law of attraction. And of course, the law of attraction says like attracts like. So whatever we're sending out, we're getting back in return, the same frequency. So we really want to be careful in terms of what kind of frequency are we sending out? What of these base patterns are we sending out? It doesn't match what we really truly want to manifest. So that's the basis behind the theory that words and brand names, and our professional name, any of those things, our business names, those have a pivotal effect on our success, because it's energy, because we're sending out a frequency with those words. So, you know, I definitely want to mention as well that when I was doing research for my book, I came across a statistic, a study that said up to 50% of the words we use to express emotion are negative. That is so huge, because when we're going, like that guy, the problem is, and he had a lot of problems, what are you putting out there? What kind of feeling are you putting behind your words? Because that is, number two, the second biggest thing that you have to really look at, because that is like the fuel behind your thought, the fuel behind your words. And I can tell you from my own personal background that I'm a thinker. I'm a 3, which is the gateway number to the mind plane. It's the first mind plane number. It's the number of the intellect, the imagination. I was the thinker. And hence why I was in banking and corporate, because I thought that that's where I needed to be because I was good at it. I was, you know, the brainiac, the one that thought a lot, overthought, overanalyzed. But then my life really turned on a dime when I started to go with how I felt. And I can't stress enough, and I think that this has a lot to do with the secret and the law of attraction and the fact that why doesn't it work for a lot of people? Because it's the power behind the words that you're using. What kind of energy or what kind of frequency are you putting behind those words? And again, I'm going to go back to that guy who said the problem is, and kind of take it one step further. Think about a child, for example, who might say a cuss word and their parents are gasp, you know, they're very fraught with the fact that this little child has said something terrible, but for that child, that word is neutral. It doesn't mean anything to that child. There's no energetic weight behind what that child is saying. So it's not going to manifest for that child. It's not going to either negatively or positively affect that child, other than the fact that the parents' influence and their reaction may have a related effect on this child, but the word itself does not. So really, the feeling behind the words as well is like the fuel for the fire. So once you pinpoint what frequency you want to be sending out, what energy are you putting behind it? So this segment is really about putting together the science behind what I'm trying to accomplish with this power of words theory. And to me, it's not a theory. To me, it's proof in the pudding that the law of attraction does work, number one. And number two, that words are a gift to us as humans to be able to consciously create and create our world, and also to be able to be successful through the words we choose to use on a daily basis. And so definitely one of the things I stress to people, and this is also related to brand, and it will help you get started on thinking about words and thinking about numbers in a different light, in a different perspective than you've traditionally thought of them as. For example, I mean, when people look at numbers, they think math, and that's all they think. They're not really thinking in terms of the fact that numbers can be a window into the energetic world. So it's a different way of looking at it, a different way of thinking about numbers, but also words, because when we think of a word, we look to the dictionary. But is that truly the depth or the scope of what that word is doing for us? No, it isn't. So definitely thinking a little bit deeper with this, thinking a little bit more in terms of a broader scope in our creative abilities through the power of words. So with your brand right now, I want you to think about your brand or how you're displaying yourself. Are you a professional? Are you a business owner? Maybe you're an author, a model, an actress, singer. Who knows what you're doing professionally, but think about how you display yourself. When you hand someone a business card, what are they feeling? What are they sensing? What kind of energy are they getting from that particular frequency when they read that name? And there is a frequency that is being emitted when they read that name, and you want it to match what you're wanting to attract. And that's the bottom line. If it doesn't match the frequency that you're wanting to attract, or the customers or the clients that you're wanting to attract, it's not going to happen. You're going to feel like you're struggling, you're pushing the boulder up the hill. It just is going to be a constant struggle for you. And the moment that you align precisely your name with the types of people or the services or what have you that you're wanting to bring into your scope of business, or that you're wanting to bring into your stratosphere, boom, there it comes. And the river of abundance starts to flow toward you without even trying, without even attempting to have to try. So it's really, it can make or break you. And I always say this with this particular brand power webinar, is that it can make or break you. It really can. It's something that it's hit or miss, but it's also black and white, because it's numbers, it's frequency, it's vibration. It's either this pattern or this pattern. There's no gray area. And so that's the fine-tuning of the brand and the secret behind the brand, and why these enduring companies last and continue to enjoy such success is because they have matched their brand with what they want to attract in terms of customer base in terms of the image, the tagline, the slogan that they want to present to these customers, and it's like a win-win formula for success. So if you have been struggling, if you have been, you know, pushing the boulder up the hill, as I once was, definitely I was there, did it, you know, push the boulder, the whole 9 yards, and now my boulder is going down the hill since I really aligned with who I am and what I want to achieve and what I want to attract into my stratosphere, energetically speaking. So it just, life's meant to be easy. And if it's not easy, for the most part, I mean, we definitely have our challenges, but it really should flow. And if it's not flowing, then you're not going the right way. And that's the bottom line with branding as well. If it's not working for you, then it's not right for you. So I really think that what I want to do is take you through a little bit of my own backstory with branding, because I think it will really make sense to you in terms of seeing what I've been talking about, in terms of the quantum physics, in terms of the science and the mathematics, and all of that stuff. So with me, I started out as kind of the people pleaser. I'm a 3, of course, and one of the, as a 3 energy, as a 3 life path, numerologically speaking, they tend to be people pleasers. They tend to want to be the social butterflies, the ones that make everyone happy. And so I started off as an intuitive numerologist, and I really felt like I was always trying to explain myself to people, and I felt like no one really got who I was or what I was doing, and it just seemed like a frustrating situation to say to them every time, yes, I'm a numerologist, but this is what it is, and this is how I do it, and it just wasn't working for me. And so I ended up hitting this really low point in my life where I was at a spiritual crisis moment, and I stripped everything away. I really felt like I had to do it. I had to kind of take it all away, take all my titles away. I even went so far, and I don't recommend this to everyone, but I did strip away pretty much everything in terms of my personal possessions, anything I thought that didn't resonate with me, and I started over from scratch. And for me, it was the most profound thing I could have ever done. I sold my house, most of my personal possessions. I left the east coast of Canada, which had a, you know, the city I was in at the time was Fredericton, New Brunswick, and it had a population at the time of about 33,000. And I remember sitting in the driveway on closing day of my house with just a small little trailer with pictures and clothes, and thought, what the heck did I do? And it was one of those really kind of pivotal aha moments. But it really was the best thing for me at the time. And like I say, you don't have to go that extreme to revamp or rebrand yourself. But for me, it had to be that way. And so I stripped everything that I thought didn't resonate with me anymore. And I set off across Canada, and I ended up in Calgary, Alberta. There was a friend there that I had, and in town. So I decided to stay, and literally within 3 weeks of being there, I got a call from a major network, CTV, which is kind of the equivalent to Fox in the US, and they wanted me to be a guest on their show as a numerologist. And I thought, how in the heck did they find me, given the fact that I had just taken down my website? I was totally off the grid in terms of my work, in terms of my presence. I was nothing and no one at that time. And so the universe really brought me a gift, and that gift was to be able to start over and brand myself the way that I felt, not thought, and that's the key, how I felt I should be. And like I said, being a people pleaser, I was always looking to others to say, what do you think? What do you think I should be? How do you think I should do this? How do you think I should brand myself? And that was my moment to say, you know what, I'm going to brand myself around who I think I should be, in the sense of feeling it, in the sense of saying, you know what, this is how it feels, and this feels right to me. And so I ended up branding as celebrity numerologist. And a lot of people say to me, celebrity numerologist, isn't that kind of superficial, or, you know, negating the fact that you're spiritual and all that stuff? And I always say to them, absolutely not, because I've really come to terms with owning that essence of being celebrity numerologist versus just a numerologist, because I had at the time when I went on CTV some celebrity clients, and I thought, you know, I love working with celebrity clients because they have such a reach, they have such a broad scope in terms of being able to affect people through their brand. And so for me, that was a win-win. If I could work with more celebrity clients, I could reach more people, affect more change, and show people that they can too succeed and make a successful brand. So that's why I claimed that title and owned it. And I never looked back. It was just from that point forward when I started to live in alignment with the energy that I wanted to attract into my life and the essence that I felt I should be. It was a winning success in terms of brand. And that was because I aligned who I was, what I wanted to attract with my brand name. And so that's what I want to teach you in this two-part segment. And this is, of course, the first segment, and I really wanted to just give you a little bit of a lowdown on the science and the facts and all of that stuff, which I'm very keen on. And like I said in the beginning, I'm very practical, and I want you to understand that this isn't just something I pulled out of a hat that's very woo-woo or airy-fairy, I like to call it. It's not New Age metaphysics. It's quantum physics, mathematics, and science. And there's no doubt that when you go through this complete webinar and do your own branding and be able to calculate words through numbers, you're going to see that the accuracy rate is phenomenal and that there's more to this than just metaphysics. It's absolutely science. So definitely, you know, this is segment one, and you know, I kind of was winging it a little bit, and I know we'll be editing some of this and such, but I just, for me, I'm very practical, and I approach things, and I didn't want to script it too much. I didn't want to be too, you know, like I was reading from a script, and so I'm giving you what I know, and I'm giving you the information as it's coming to me. And I think a big part of when I speak or present, it's intuitive based, and I think that, like the brand, it's also intuitive based. So I think it fits well with the method through which I'm delivering this. So I want to talk as well, before we end this segment, about the fact that your daily vocabulary is also important. And when we're thinking about branding, when we're thinking about rebranding your brand, we want to look at, what are you saying every day? What are your top 10 words? And I know this doesn't sound like it directly relates to your brand, but it does. Because what are we putting out there when we're talking about our brand? When we have a conversation with someone, let's say in the elevator, and we have that 30-second pitch that we want to sell ourselves to people, what are we saying? What kind of words are we using? Are we saying words like absolutely or certainly? Or are we saying, well, I should and I could and maybe? Are we using a lot of wishy-washy words, or are we using a lot of doubtless words? And that's the key. Doubtless is where you want to be in terms of presenting your brand. It has to be doubtless. It has to be confident. It has to be assertive so that people feel confident in your brand and what you're trying to sell or get across to them, energetically speaking. So it's like the backing to your brand. You want to be able to say, okay, these are my top 10 words, and definitely focus on those top 10. I don't want you to go into your entire vocabulary, but I want you to start thinking about that. What are the top 10 words that you use every day? Because this will be pivotal in the fact that we're going into segment 2 with finalizing your brand and calculating it and figuring out what are you actually sending out with your brand. So think about that. Think about the top 10 words that you're using and how that relates to your brand and your business name or your professional name or anything related to career. Definitely think about those daily vocabulary lists. And are they positive? Are they negative? Are they doubtless? Those are the key things to look for. So that really sums up segment 1. I just wanted to give, like I say, a brief overview scientifically, my background, just to give you a little primer, because I think that that's so important with the practical aspects, to be able to say, okay, this is the proof in the pudding. This is the science to back up the unseen or the metaphysical portion or part of the branding aspect. And it just, to me, it's worth its weight in gold to be able to share this with you, because I'm the natural scientist and I always want to know how and why. You know, all of the questions that are asked when you think about a scientific mind. So definitely, I hope it got you thinking. I hope that it's able to really set your mind in a different frame of thought processes when it comes to words, when it comes to numbers, when it comes to energy. And I also wanted to leave you as well with the numerological information, because when we think about numerology versus, let's say, astrology, if you were walking down the street and you asked someone, what is astrology? And then you ask someone else, what is numerology? You can bet that most people would be able to answer what astrology is, but not numerology. And that's one of my definite goals in this lifetime, is to be able to show people how numerology is actually a code that is like spiritual DNA. It can actually unlock so many secrets, per se, secrets, life secrets, to who we are, our traits, our attributes, what we're meant to do, the cycles that are around us, energetically speaking, how we can utilize those cycles in terms of life purpose, but also things like branding, things like you know, career path, the direction, the whole 9 yards. So definitely numerology, that's the cut and dry version. Numerology is definitely the science of numbers. It really is. It's mathematics. It is developed by Pythagoras, who was the Greek mathematician and philosopher. So to leave you with this, segment 1 was really introducing me, introducing numerology, introducing the law of attraction, and the unseen quantum physics aspect to energy and how energy makes up all things, including words. So let's end it here. I hope that you've been able to wrap your brain around some of what I've been saying. I know I've put a lot into this segment, and it's a lot to take in, so I hope that you can rewatch it and really integrate some of the information and grasp at least somewhat of an understanding of the 3 different elements. Segment 2, we're going to really go into a lot of the calculations and getting into some of the, you know, meat and potatoes of what it means to brand around energy and around the power of words. So thank you for watching this segment 1 of Brand Power, and tune in for the next segment.